Welcome back to Razmafzar TV. Hi, Bede. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Is everything okay on your part in Australia?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, we're going through some very weird weather at the moment, but I mean, I'm maybe I had a lot of sunscreen on today, but I'm maybe a little bit red, because the sun was very intense. Um, but no, it's been the last few days. Like, we've had one rainy day, and it wasn't a lot of rain, but we've had massive storms. I told you,
Yes,
the last time we talked about the giant hailstones and things like that.
yes.
But in Sydney, it's been pretty good. Uh, Not as hot as it had been. So those of us that don't like to be really hot, we're very happy about that. Um, and it's better for doing things like, making stuff and sport, archery and things like that. So it's been pretty good lately. And very very typical Sydney weather, I think.
Uh,
Of course, it's
Very
going to
nice.
get very hot and sunny, but well, yeah, that's what we've got to live with it.
Uh, okay, Vid, we are going to talk about Persian Iranian firearms. I need to say these are also part of the royal collection from Safavid
Mhm.
period, which they were kept in different kings' courts and also in the Qajar, Nasruddin Shah Qajar personal collection. This is the second row where I did research. The first one, as you know, it was arms and armor from Iran and without firearms. Then the second one, these are the firearms. We are going to talk about matchlocks from the museum. We are going to
Mhm.
talk flintlocks, percussion caps, pistols, and cannons. Okay, so these
Mhm.
five parts we are going to talk about. Just before I start, I was talking with Bede. Many people ask about training in firearms in Razmafzar. Yes, we have different weapons, also archery. And regarding the firearms, in our team we have Andrea and her kids. They are members of shooting with black powder, but in Europe, like in Germany, Luxembourg, or in other countries, you need a license to do that. It's actually not that difficult. You need to be a member of shooting club, and then you join there. You can go and train also with Andrea or the rest of them. If you go to United States, that's our Hayden, who is a veteran, so he can also train whatever weapon. US is a different legislation,
Mm.
as you all know. So just for people to know that
Yeah,
because many people ask about
yeah,
that.
yeah. And in the US, things like black powder weapons, flintlocks, and that are very popular
Yes, very.
among people that are quite knowledgeable and specialist in it.
Yes,
I've noticed also just on things like YouTube that there's a lot of people in Europe doing very good research into early firearms and
yes,
testing them and there are also people who make good reproductions of early
yes.
firearms.
Yes.
I'm
I mean,
thinking
in the
particularly
shooting
of.
club of Andrea, I mean, especially her daughter is too much into this shooting with these also black powder, different mechanisms. I think no, she doesn't shoot matchlock. She shoots flintlock and percussion cap, right? Her
Mhm.
daughter. And she's very good
Well, much
also.
more reliable than some of the others.
Yes, and she also takes part in different competition. Very young lady, and won also
Mhm.
many competitions. Andrea does it as well, her son as well, but she's more into these black powder things. So she's also very good at that, winning many championships. But then again, this is something else because people ask about activities in that field. We are going to talk
Mhm.
about matchlocks. What we are going to see they're published all in Persian Fire and Steel. You can find detailed information. I'm going just to show some pictures with Bede. We are going to
Yeah,
talk.
excellent. Yeah.
You want to have dimensions. It's all in my book in the catalog. Each one of them
Mm.
is described. I analyzed them. I looked at the inscriptions, took pictures. You can see the weight, the length, everything about the
Mm.
firearms is in my book, Persian Fire and Steel. I also published 5 articles, and they're on my academia, but they're limited because articles, they're not like a book, of course. So we're going to talk
Mm.
about matchlock. One thing which is important for us, and so with Bede we are going to discuss. There is in Iran always this saying, which is true, that Shah Ismail Safavid, who faced in Chaldaran the Ottomans, we have Iranian documents on that, that he didn't use firearms because some people say because he was not aware, but most people say because he didn't say it. He said it was not Javan Mardi to fight with firearms. But more into that, the new research shows that he preferred stab tactics, right? Cavalry, fast attack,
Mm.
right? So they were
Yeah,
different. It was not only
yeah,
Javan Mardi
yeah.
principles. So one has to
Well, yeah,
mention that.
yeah. General studies into the history of firearms have suggested, and particularly the one I'm thinking about, suggests that uh, places like Iran, unlike Turkey, which is a different situation, in Iran, campaigns were over very long distances
Yes.
with very little support in terms of, like in Europe, if you marched from one city to another city, every half a day you'd come to a new village where you could buy provisions and whatever.
Yes.
In Iran, you could travel for 5 days and not see any human beings.
Yes.
And the transportation of firearms, and everybody thinks, oh, I've got a gun in a holster or a rifle over with a strap or whatever. But the transportation of firearms and black powder and bullets and all this kind of stuff, this was a big logistical issue in places like Iran and say Mongolia and places like that. In India, in Ottoman Turkey, there was not as much of a problem for reasons that are probably too complex to go in here. It famously, they said the Mamluks in Egypt didn't like using firearms because that you got dirty with the black powder. A lot of this is either local historians after major defeats putting down, say, the Mamluks, or saying that they didn't know what they're doing, um, or it was rationalization of why they didn't have as many or as effective firearms. The Ottomans were very effective with their firearm troops, um, but up until Chaldiran, uh, Shah Ismail was probably not wrong to think that firearms were probably not a great thing within the context
Yes.
of Iranian campaigns. The problem is if you say, well, I'm going to fight these rapidly moving campaigns with lots of cover and things like that, that's really fine until you decide to attack someone who's entrenched with firearms, because then you're fighting on their terms, not on your own terms. And that's what happened to him at Chaldiran.
Yes.
And I think it's probably unfair to characterize him as somebody that wasn't interested in firearms. It's just that he made a bad miscalculation at Chaldiran.
Yes. Absolutely.
And
And
for the rest of the
and
earlier part of his life, he was incredibly
yes.
successful.
And another thing we need also to mention that Shah Ismail was like a raised to some sort of like godlike, that his followers called
Oh,
him when they
yes.
went
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
fight. They shouted, "Ya Sheikh, Ya Sheikh." So meaning that
Yeah.
the Sheikh referring to him fighting. And one thing else, that in the morning of Chaldaran battle, he was so sure because he won all his campaigns that he went
Mm.
actually hunting birds before they hunt Chaldaran.
Yeah.
This shows again how much he was sure, and he always fought with his guys. One needs also to mention that. But again, during
Yeah.
Timurid period, we know that in Persian manuscripts that there were also trades with Europe, with Venetia in Timurid period.
Mm.
On Aryanlu also we have documents that they imported guns into Iran back then, right?
Well, there are late Timurid miniatures of people using guns.
Yes. So in
So
Persian manuals, they talk about some words. Radandas means thunder thrower, and Qara Buqra, which is black camel. These two terms are very controversial among Iranian scholars, what they actually refer to. Are they firearms or not? So they still argue. There are lots of arguments on that. Do they, for example, means stone throwing catapults? They are like naphtha throwers, or are they cannons or whatever? So they're, but fact
Yeah.
is they imported firearms. This we need to take into consideration. So you see that, for
Yeah.
example, we had this Uzun Hassan Aghayanlu, as I mentioned, 1471 already. He imported from the
Mhm.
Venetian Santim. This is document also in Persian. We have the documents: six bombardiers, 600 culverines, matchlocks, siege guns, grenades. So it did not mean so. Shah Ismail certainly was aware of that guns, what guns were, right? As
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah, so
and it's I think again people like to exaggerate
yeah,
things to explain why
yeah,
something happened when it may have been the result of a lot of complex
yes,
things that were going on
absolutely.
at the time.
Absolutely.
I when you think about it, the different places to campaign
Yes.
require different equipment. I mean, think of how long it took the Russians to move into Central Asia. I mean, that was largely done in the 19th century, and it was largely done after the Russians established railways
Yes.
because fighting in these huge plains and that, it's not easy to cut all this stuff around. Um, and again, it's the logistics of a firearm-based army more than anything else that can cause problems. Now, there are very good English translations of the Venetian and other Italian ambassadors that went to see Uzun Hassan, and I think there's even some to Shah Ismail himself,
Yeah. They
because
did.
the Italians were very interested in having Iran on side to
Yes.
balance the Ottoman Empire.
Yes.
I mean,
And
you know that.
just one more thing, we know that, but we are
Yeah,
going to talk about it already after the defeat. Okay, Shah Ismail was never the same man, but Shah
mm,
Tahmas, he included uh, firearms, and then he defeated Ottomans. We know Shah Tahmas did it, Shah Abbas did it. On multiple occasions, they were
yeah,
completely able to defeat Ottomans. When? So they included firearms. So if we come and say he was not aware, he said, oh, we don't want to do it, it's because of Jawan Mahdi, it implies that Shah Tahmas and Shah Abbas were not Jawan Mard, interested in Jawan Mahdi, which is nonsense, right?
yeah.
So,
No, well,
that's the
see,
implication.
the thing to look at is what happened with the Ottoman border in Europe and what happened with the Ottoman border with Iran.
Yeah.
The Ottomans eventually gained control of Iraq, but it took a really long time. Whereas they were much more successful when they were fighting in Europe.
Yes.
And the Europeans had lots of guns, had plate armor, had all kinds
Great
of things you
point.
would say would have made them superior. But it's not just weapons that wins wars, it's tactics and strategies
Yes.
and
Yes. Very good
logistics,
point.
being able to supply your army. So
Very
I
good
think
point.
it's easy to get kind of um, impressed by singular things, items like, oh, this is a much superior gun than that gun was.
Yes.
But if the
Exactly.
person who uses the gun or the army that uses the gun isn't efficient using them, it doesn't make any difference.
Yes. So we have this Rad and Das, as I mentioned that to you, at least two Persian period dictionaries of 19th century, Farhang
Mm.
Ananderaj and Farhang Nafisi, they call, also Farhang Nafisi, they call Rad and Das actually a cannon, right? Not a stone thrower. So it could be that it went
Yeah,
through semantic shift. Just wanted to mention that.
yeah.
So this is,
And this happened. This happened in Arabic and in Chinese.
yeah,
Remember, Baibars was al bundukdari, which means pellet shooter.
yeah,
And these were from pellet bows or pellet crossbows.
yeah,
But bunduk eventually became to mean bullet
yes,
in Arabic.
yes.
And so this is exactly the same thing.
So
Oh, this is a nice looking
this is
gun.
a Safavid period matchlock. Take a look at that
Hmm.
bead. Isn't it nice?
It is lovely. I love it. See, this is that style of trigger went east into the Indian subcontinent.
Yeah.
where the trigger's halfway down halfway down the shoulder rest. It's not up here next to the lock. It's way back. The other thing that's important to notice about this type of matchlock in Europe, the matchlock the serpentine comes back
Back.
towards the shooter, whereas in Iran and further east it goes
Oh,
forward.
very good point. Yes.
Which look, I don't know whether there's any great advantage one way or the other. But it's interesting that later guns like flintlocks and percussion guns, they also went forward.
They
So
went forward. Yes.
I
And
don't know.
many of them have insertions of walrus ivory. Look, you see that here?
Oh yeah, that's really nice.
Very nice.
It's a very elegant looking gun in the
Yeah.
sense. I mean, like in the Americans are very proud of their Kentucky rifles, but long shoulder fired firearms
Yeah.
were very popular in the East. In
Yes.
Iran, in Afghanistan, in what's now Pakistan.
Yes.
Um, these the long. I mean, like the Americans were rifle. Some of these were rifle, but most of them weren't. But the long barrel was thought to impart greater power and accuracy.
Yes.
Um, it did mean after a few dozen shots, they had to be cleaned because the barrel fouled, and there was so much barrel to get foul. Uh, but on the other hand, um, I mean, this has a. It looks like it's got a back sight.
Yeah.
I can't see a foresight, but that
We are
they
going to
tend to.
see them. We are going
Yeah,
to see all of them, and then you will
I like the shape of the stock though. I think it's really quite elegant.
two other examples. Look at them.
Yeah, very nice.
Very nice. These are you will see that. Just let wait until we see the barrels. You will not believe your eyes.
Mm.
What Iranian barrel makers could make. And two more. Do you like them, Beat? Look.
Oh yeah. See, this is the thing about it is that we're so used to modern rifles and the kind of ergonomic structure of the stock and everything like that. But these are individual countries or cultures' solutions to ergonomics with firearms. And if you look at, say, Turkish firearms, you look at European firearms, like the kind of early muskets with their kind of quite florid stock, shoulder stock, and everything like that in Europe look nothing like later guns. They're very attractive and probably better for science fiction ray guns than they are for inspiring modern guns. But these show the same kind of thing. Um,
And
I'm guessing
these are wall guns. I'm going to say the difference in weight. Later on, we will see the tables. These are wall guns. Look at them, Beat.
they notice the large semicircular back sight
Yeah.
is
With
that
different
like a
holes in
pinhole?
it. Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. I mean,
Yeah.
but those barrels look really solid.
Very.
I I had one of my bosses was a bench rest shooter, and that's modern rifles, but where the barrels are really heavy and the stocks are quite light. And to me, this reminds me of those modern rifles, um, where you use the mass of the barrel to absorb some of the recoil through its own inertia, rather than having a fairly light barrel and a light stock, which gives you a solid kick in the shoulder. So yeah, I think my old boss would have liked this.
So we talked about initial disinterest of Safavids. I just put some of these things here. And okay, now take a look at this one, please.
Oh, that's nicely made.
Again, this inserts of walrus here. You see that? And look at serpentine. Very nice.
Oh, that is it. Kind of like a duck. It's got like a little
Yeah, yeah,
face
it
of the
does. It
serpent.
does. Actually, it does. They're serpentines in Iran. Many of them look like ducks or birds. As you see, this is the beak. This is the eye. Some of them look
Yeah,
like dragons, dragon hats.
yeah. That looks a bit like Donald Duck to me.
No, no, this one is
I
not.
noticed.
Yeah, yeah. Some of them
Yeah,
are bird hats. That for sure.
yeah.
Right.
I also noticed that, like the Europeans, they like particularly good wood for the stocks.
Yes.
So this has got stripes in it. It's
Yes.
absolutely beautiful piece of wood.
Yes. Look now.
Oh. So this is
Yeah.
the base of the barrel.
Yes.
It's chiseled
Yes. Chiseled.
into,
Yes. And you
yeah,
see here the serpentine again. You see that? And then here.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
slightly offset. You also can see the back sight,
Yeah.
which is very clear.
Yeah.
Um, and I, I'm looking at where the powder is going to sit. Is there a cover? Is that a cover, like
Yeah,
a
it
sliding cover?
normally
Yeah.
exactly. They used to have a cover here, so that's where this goes here, and then the ignition comes here, then it goes to the main barrel.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because you can see the remains of the rivet
Yes,
for the cover to swing backwards and forwards.
yes, that's right.
And again, even just the applied metalwork, that little engraved silver piece, maybe
Yes, yes, silver. That's
behind the,
silver.
yeah.
That's silver. Yes.
So it's the designs are vaguely similar to what you'd see on a knife or something like that.
Yes. It's a bird. Do you see that?
Yeah, maybe they were out shooting birds.
No, all these are the same floral design on. No, these were floral design you
Yeah,
see on many war guns as well.
yeah,
Floral
yeah,
bird design, the paradise as we say in Persian.
yeah.
Look at this.
Oh, that's nice.
Beautiful, huh?
Yeah, that is really beautiful. And there's a funny thing that dot with a circle around it, which is done with a tool. It's just like a drill with
That's right.
two teeth, like a brad pointed drill. That's been used for decorating things going back 3 or 4 thousand years.
Yes, yes. You
And
see
in
the
some
bronze
parts of
weapons,
the
Pete,
Middle East, they still do it. I mean, it's still a current design. Uh,
bronze weapons from northern Iran and also Luristan. You see this style already.
yeah, but I must admit that the way they've done it here is really quite nice. It,
Very.
it I know it's crazy, but a couple of them look a little bit like seahorses with their tails straightened out. Uh, it's I mean, there's flowers and there's leaves, but it's really quite
Yes.
quite a complex set of
Just to
design.
see some of them, I put the table here. Okay, I know there are hundreds of them in my book, but some of them are here. You can see the weight, for example. The matchlocks, the 5,770 grams, 4,490, 4,230. I mean, if you hold them, they're very well balanced. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just to
Well,
make it, yeah.
yeah. Go on.
And you see that these are now, just to understand, these are the names and attributions. This one,
Mm,
Shah Abbas, from Shah Abbas period, Shah Abbas period, Shah Abbas first, right? Shah Abbas period. And if you
mm,
go for the all Shah Abbas, you see, then we come to the lighter ones, 3,220. One here,
mm.
6,170 grams. And look at this, then again, from 3,000 to 5,000 to 6,000 grams.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because I was looking at the total length,
Yeah.
and some of these heavier ones are actually shorter
Yes, yes,
than
shorter.
some of the others. So
Because of
again,
heavy
this
barrels.
exactly changing the barrel weight to
Yes,
maximize its efficiency.
yes. And now look at this. Now we go to wall guns. Beach, take a look
Mm,
at the wall guns and the weight of them.
yeah.
12 kilos,
Oh,
12,700. The wall guns, of course,
yeah, yeah. I've
12,690.
I've seen this kind of gun like from
Yeah,
Europe and China.
yeah.
They're really quite impressive.
Impressive.
I mean,
Yes.
the some of them were mounted on gimbals so that
Yes.
they
We
were
have
fixed on the wall.
examples. We have
Yeah,
examples of them here as well.
and
9,000. Yeah.
Europe they had what's called punt guns, which were in the 19th century for hunting large numbers of birds at one time,
Yeah.
and they had a boat like a punt that you pulled out, and
You
you had this
see,
massive gun in it, just like one of
You
these.
see that in Tarikh Jahangoshay Nadiri, which we talked about it as them. You see that the wall guns are placed on top of fortification, like 10 to 20 of them, and guys are
Yeah,
behind it, and the wall gun, they're shooting wall guns. I'm sure you remember that. I hope I put
yeah,
these paintings there.
and these things, the caliber was such, and the powder charge was such that you could target enemy commanders if they got too close to the wall. You
Yeah,
could take one of these guys out. it would go through a shield, it would go through the guy
Yeah.
holding the shield, and it would go through the guy standing behind him.
Yeah.
We Even early firearms are very devastating. I mean, there are some that were pretty weak, and pistols in general weren't anywhere near as successful as long arms were. But when you look at something like that, it can handle a fairly solid powder charge.
Yes.
And sometimes they didn't. They look not Iranians particularly, but some parts of the world, people weren't very careful about how much powder they put in. And if they got good quality powder, which burned hotter and faster, the guns couldn't handle it because they were designed for low quality, slow burning powder. And you would have guns exploding that had been perfectly successful for 50 years before.
Yes.
And I mean, people nowadays, when they make or want to shoot old guns, have
Yes.
to be really careful of what powder they use so that they don't,
Yes.
wreck the gun.
Yes.
So you've got to have a powder that's as
Yes.
inefficient as the powder at the time the gun was made
Yes.
and it
So
was designed for.
just to mention that, you see that the range, as we see that from the shoulder guns, was from 3 kilos to 6 kilos in average, more or
Mm.
less,
Yeah,
and wall guns from 7 kilos and half goes to 12 kilos 700. So you see, just the weight is interesting to see. The wall guns,
yeah,
of course, were not meant to be carried like shoulder weapons. Now,
yeah. And the other thing about the wall guns is because they were mounted on a wall, you weren't worried about somebody overrunning your position. So
yes,
you could afford to take longer to load them and take more
yes,
care to aim them.
yes,
Whereas the guys that are out in the field have to be able to reload faster.
yes,
They're not as worried about precision
yes,
because there's 3 or 4 thousand of them shooting at the same time.
yes,
But these things
absolutely,
are precision weapons.
yes.
This
So
is pattern welded steel.
yes, pattern welded steel, and all of them are, not all of them, but like 95% of them I had in my
Yeah.
hands are beautiful. But now there
Mm.
in my book Persian Fire and Steel, there is the one of the methods I write about different methods is this: they took two old horseshoe irons and a certain quantity of small bits and pieces of ordinary iron. So the total amounted to 15 seer. So back then, seer was a weight measurement, which is almost
Mm.
1 kilo. So they layered the iron in such a way that the horseshoes made up the exterior outside. Then the smiths
Mm.
placed the horseshoes in fire and they heated it until it had almost reached the melting point. One method is like that.
Yeah.
In the next
Yeah.
step, they
It's in,
forged the iron on top of the anvil until all the pieces became one uniform compact mass. Then they repeated the forging several times. Then they drew out the metal until it became a bar of about 75 centimeters in length. They made 12 of these bars, attached them to one another, and put this entire billet into the forge. Now, after heating the billets sufficiently, it's one method. There are different methods, right? So they
oh
took
yeah, yeah.
mass out and forged and cut it wherever the various part had blended. Then the smith stretched and reduced the billet to the size and thickness of a finger and rounded the corners. So the next step involved taking four of these strips and twisting them into spirals. That's interesting. Extending them on an
Yeah.
iron blade and beating and heating the mass until it was compact. After that, the smith twisted the mold of this last strip and beat and heated it to get the welding. Whereupon they withdraw the mold, polishing and smoothing the interior of the gun barrel. So then they polish the exterior outside, covering the surface with a mixture of 2 parts sulfur and 1 part salt, which were mixed into a water solution. Then they had this coated barrel in hot and humid place. They put it, such as the interior of a bath, for 24 hours. At the end of that period, they took it out and it was complete and polished it, of course. So this is, look
Yeah.
at this beat. Beat, look at
Yeah.
these beauties.
I mean, this is pattern welded at the top level.
Top
I mean,
level.
I'm looking at them, and uh, clearly there is an influence there of Woods, and they want it to look a bit like Woods,
Yes.
but they've invented a whole new thing.
Yes.
And the thing I was going to comment on the horseshoe things. We think of horseshoes like Western horseshoes, but the horseshoes in Iran were like a plate with a little teardrop
Yes.
hole in it,
Yes.
and it had a turned down edge,
Yes.
and it was closer to spring steel than it was to ordinary iron.
Yes.
So so that it's, if you've got in your mind the horseshoe that you've seen on an ordinary horse nowadays, It's not the same thing. They look different,
Yes.
and it was a
And
thinner
Bede,
steel.
in the book I wrote like 2 years ago, and I translated those Goharname, Book of Jewels, and they
Mhm.
describe all of them also how to make crucible steel. They also use old horseshoes to put in the crucible.
Yeah, well, I mean, if the steel is good enough to make horseshoes out of, and as I say, it was a different style of horseshoe, then once it's no longer usable,
Yes.
it's still steel.
Yes.
And
And they
I
all
mean,
mention no matter if you want to make crucible steel or here you want to make pattern welded steel, both methods they stress it should be used one. That's
yeah,
interesting.
well, it's like the Japanese use steel things for making armor
Yeah.
in the period when they were fighting against firearms, because it I don't know, maybe the all of the working on the steel to make the first item that it was made out of.
Yeah.
When you reuse it, that's a whole series of processes you don't have to do again because it's already been done. You're just reshaping it and reintroducing carbon or whatever the process involved. Because as you said, there's more than one process. This is
Yes.
quite a complex thing.
Guys,
And
I
the
just want to
chiseling is
show
pretty good.
you. Please take a look at this. I'm going to show just some part. Look at the pattern here, Pete. The
Pattern's
next
beautiful.
one. These ones.
The chiseling on that was very good as well. To
Yes.
make that stand up thing
Yes.
is done by taking away material by
Yes.
chiseling.
Look at these ones now.
Uh, yeah, these are beautiful. And everyone is different, and everyone
Yes.
that difference is from the way they're being forged and the way they put the billets together and things like that. So it's quite sophisticated.
Very. You see, so these are they're looking real when you hold them in your hand. Unbelievable. I
Yeah,
was so
no, that's
mesmerized. So you see, these are these different methods. And now in my book, you can see how they call them in Persian. So there are different names for different patterns, baby. The same as is
oh
for
for the
crucible steel. Yeah, they have also
yeah,
names.
yeah.
That's
Well,
interesting.
I think people underestimate how skillful they were with pattern welded steel. We tend to concentrate on woods because it's so beautiful,
Yes.
but there were lots of pattern welded steel swords as well.
Yes.
I mean,
For example,
they
in Iran, beat, as you know, I have Qameh Qaddare made of woods, crucible steel, pattern crucible steel, but most Qameh Qaddares in Iran were made of pattern welded steel. Beautiful ones.
yeah, yeah.
Beautiful ones.
And this is the thing because we're again we tend to focus on the more popular things,
Yes.
and a beautiful shamshu made from woods is a beautiful object. But there are a lot of other types of swords being made, and even shamshus being made out of. I've got two tulwas in there. One's crucible steel, and one is pattern welded steel.
Yeah,
And
the Indians,
the
Indian,
patterns are
that's
beautiful.
interesting, Beat, because the Indians indeed made their sabers also of pattern welded steel. I handled like thousands in Iran, right? I have not seen up to date Iranian, Persian, Shamshir blades, Persian, not Indian, made of pattern welded. Not to now. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Up to now, I haven't seen. After
But
analyzing 20.
maybe, yeah, maybe they had specific reasons to prefer woods for shamshis as
Yes,
opposed to say
yes.
Godari.
Yes, but Qabe on Qaddare, I have to say, I publish in my books as well. I have handled
Mhm.
hundreds of Qabe and Qaddares. Six of them are patent crucible steel, hundreds of patent welded steel. That's interesting in Iran. In Iran, to
Yeah,
see how they preferred in Iran. You cannot. I'm not talking about other countries, right? In Iran, they preferred for some reasons. Preferred. You can never say 100%. Patterned crucible steel for Shamshir and patterned welded steel preferred for Qameh and Qaddar. But again, we have examples of Qameh and Qaddar of patterned crucible steel, but I have never ever, up to now, I have never ever seen a Persian Shamshir made of patterned welded steel. I haven't seen it. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but I have analyzed.
I think if you do find them, they'll be the style with the wider blades.
Yeah, yeah,
I because that's what I've seen with the Indian tools.
yeah,
It's the wide, thick blades that
yeah,
tend to be pattern welded.
yeah.
Um, uh, woods. you can make a beautiful narrow blade, thick but narrow.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think maybe it's better for that purpose. I don't know enough about um,
But
uh,
Beat, regarding beauty, can you tell me, in my eyes, as much as I love patent crucible steel, but this steel we see here is as beautiful as a patent crucible steel, in my eyes. Look how beautiful this steel is.
oh, it's definitely beautiful, and it's more consciously designed than say Woods is somewhat of a surprise. I mean, you can do the Kirknugban and things like that, but it's much less in your control. Whereas this, the Smith has complete control over how the pattern's developed.
Okay, Beat, now I want you to tell me one thing. Please, where was that? Remember that one,
Hmm.
this one, this
Hmm.
one,
Yeah.
these three,
Hmm.
and these four. What is your favorite pattern about this? No, really,
That's
say it.
really
Yeah, it's hard. I know.
see, yeah, because I'm looking at these four, right?
Okay, yeah, let's
The
look at this
top
one.
left hand one has an entirely different style of patterns to the others. The bottom left hand one is the most vibrant, strong pattern.
Yeah,
But the bottom right hand one seems to have more structure and it's more intricate and it's a smaller pattern. And the top right hand one is the closest looking to Woods
yeah,
in the sense that the pattern is meant to look like Woods. It's
yeah.
not, they're not trying to pretend it's Woods, but
No,
it's,
of course.
they like that pattern in Woods. So why not, if you've got control over your material, why not transfer a similar thing into pattern welded steel?
Yeah.
It's interesting that highly decorated in the construction, not gilded and everything, but barrels like this, which are also popular in Ottoman Turkey, ended up in a lot of European guns
Yes, yes,
because
yes.
they would take the barrel and they would mount it with whatever lock was the current one at the time and their own style of stock because the barrels themselves were considered so beautiful that,
Pete, you are
like,
now in Iran in 15th, 16th century. You need to buy a barrel. Which one would you buy?
oh, look, I don't know.
It's so hard.
I must say I like the bottom left hand one because I like its geometry of the barrel shape
Yeah,
and the fact that the twist in that is so tight.
very tight. Yes, very tight.
Um, but each of the other ones has its own attraction. I don't think I don't think I would have trouble finding a nice barrel in
No,
16th century Iran.
they're really
I
beautiful.
might have trouble paying for it.
Yes, I believe you.
I have a feeling that these weren't cheap in the even in the day when they were being made.
Yeah,
And when you
Pete,
consider
they were
Woods,
made. They were made for princess, kings. These are royal collection. These are not
yeah,
just some average soldier guns. Of course not, right?
no, no, no. Well, but this
They're
is the
not.
same in the rest of the world as well.
Yes,
You go to Japan and you have beautiful guns there,
yes,
and the degree of finish and the degree of work that goes into them is entirely dependent on how much the
yeah,
client can pay.
yeah.
And it's the same the whole world over. It's like those Europeans having Turkish or Persian barrels in their fowling pieces or their
Yes,
hunting rifles or whatever.
yes.
It's
But
not
before
because
we move
everybody.
on, I also love the one on top. Look at this one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's
See,
awesome.
a lot of the value of this is added by the person who does the etching to bring out the patterns.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
if you
of
do
course.
too much etchings, it looks coarse, and if you do
Yes,
too little, you can hardly see it. It's a real skill. I mean, it's a chemist skill. I mean, you got to really understand what you're mixing together to put on the
yes,
barrel. But you look at it and you can see each one,
yeah.
it's done differently. It's not just the patterns are different, but the way that they're put together. Because
Also, the
some of
one
those, like,
on you know
yeah,
bottom is also very beautiful. Look at that one, right?
yeah, that one is it's exceptional
Yeah.
in the sense that it's got waves through it,
Yes. Yes.
large waves,
Yes.
and again, a expert metalworker could look at that and say how they did it and probably why they did it that way. I think the major reason was because it looks beautiful.
Yes. It was like they
Yeah,
wired one thing on top of it, then started to reforge it again.
yeah, and then hammered it in,
Yeah.
and this is all done with forged welding and that, which requires great skill. I mean, a blacksmith can learn how to do forged welding in his first month or so, but to do forged welding at this level
Oh God.
takes you 10 or
And
15
Bede,
years, I
I
think.
have to say, I hope many modern smiths told me, no matter when they make a knife, we are not talking about long blades. At the
Mm.
end of the day, you always find a small flaw, a crack in it. And they
Yeah.
always showed me in their own work. I'm talking about German smiths. You know how Germans are good at pattern weld today. There are many good knife makers in Germany.
Mm.
But then I said, this always happens. I said, really? They said yes. And I looked at him. Okay, I don't want to mention his name. Maybe he doesn't want it. He's a very famous, world famous. And I said
Mhm.
to him, I handled hundreds of these barrels. I looked everywhere, not one crack. You know what he said? Are you really
Mhm.
comparing me to those guys? And
Well,
I
fair
just
enough.
said, fair enough. Really,
Fair
I
enough.
loved it. I loved it. You know what he
Yeah.
said? He said, Manouchehr, I'm world famous, I have such a big reputation worldwide. But please never compare me to those guys. They are a different level. That's what he said to me. And I thought, he's such an honest man. Lovely. Really lovely.
Yeah. Well, but that's how you get good at things. You've got to be able to look at yourself and know how good you're doing and how hard you've got to try to be better. Um,
Yeah.
Look, honestly, this is a very true thing. We look at these, and a lot of people can achieve something, not this level, but at some level in that direction. But it's all being done with modern machinery
Oh, yeah.
and
That's the beauty.
grinding and whatever. Whereas these guys had hammers and files and and I suppose a lot of time, but still, just think of it. I mean, I'm always impressed by arrowheads, and arrowheads are only that big.
Yeah, yeah, they are.
This
Yeah.
is a this is something that's this long that is perfectly straight, that has a totally consistent taper to get the balance and everything right. In the cases of these multifaceted ones, so you've got, octagonal cross section or 16-sided cross section or whatever. I mean, I know in the 19th century in Europe, they started making barrels that had a twist in them, but they actually shot a square section projectile, and the twist was a attempt at rifling. But the thing is that the skill that you needed to make these barrels taught people a lot of things that you would say, no, that's really hard. Nobody could do that. And
Mhm.
yeah, they could do it, and they did it repeatedly.
So we go to Flint.